Why, hello, and welcome once again. I am honored to have John Sickamechanico Clark here to talk with me about Evil West, the most 360-assed 360 game one could imagine. John, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's funny you mentioned that because I tweeted earlier today that I've been playing it, which because obviously it's a game released on Game Pass across PC and Xbox, so that's what this show's about after all. But I referred to it as the most 360 feeling title I've played in a while, and someone replied back, was like, "What do you mean by that?" And I was like it's literally been plucked from the middle of the 360 generation, from a AA studio, and just
with a nice
onto your Xbox
up-res and
Series
some
console.
fancy new effects, but its core is very much God of War at home 360 third-person game. So
yeah, and it's quite good fun.
Yeah, no, it is
quite good fun.
I gave it a 7.5 when I reviewed it, and that was a very weird review. That was one where I was driving all the way up the coast, and I was playing it on a friggin' Lenovo laptop I was reviewing. And yeah, it was a nice turn your brain off, have some god-awful dialogue that you ignore, and then just have fun killing vampires. Also, it's co-op, which I have no idea how it actually works in the game.
Yeah, so this is what struck me, because when I first loaded the menu, like, it really made it feel like a 360 gen title. Because if you remember, ladies and gentlemen, back in the day, games just launched with tacked-on multiplayer options, and you were just like, "Oh, what is this? Oh, it's a random deathmatch in this game," or something like that. But this has like story multiplayer in the menu. And it does have a co-op mode available to it. We should probably do some form of XboxEra Hangouts at some point just to laugh about it. But yes, you're right in that the game is it does take itself seriously, but it is very B movie.
Yeah, it's like Grindhouse, seriously, like very. The actors and the music they're giving it their all, but they know they're giving it their all for something that's not good. But it's not trying to be good. That makes sense. Like, it's very much it's People Can Fly. It's the Bulletstorm guys. You know what you're going to get there. You're not going to get the bestest in the ways of dialogue and writing, but you're going to get people who really want it to be cool and good. And that comes through, I think, in pretty much everything else. Gameplay feels good. It's very reliant on snapping you to targets when you aim, like always with them on console. Probably a hell of a lot better on. It was really good on PC, which is mainly where I had to play it with the mouse and keyboard.
I've been playing it on PC at the moment, although again, still console kid at heart, so with a pad. But before we get too much into the minutiae of it, like, how would you describe the setup of this, right? Because obviously the game is called Evil West, so it's in the West, right? In case the clue wasn't apparent, folks. It's cowboys, right?
But
what's the evil that we're facing here?
God, can I remember? I think I have reviewed over 100 games since I played this, so I will try and remember.
I'll give you a clue.
Yeah, lots and lots of vampires. Like whole bunches of vampires.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and it's like a super techno advanced steampunk West with lots of magical seeming abilities, and you got the power glove gauntlet shit and lots and lots of guns. You're like the most try-hardy mid-2000s looking, like
so
you'd sing for Godsmack as the main character. Very arena based, like you'll
go into an area.
Yeah, it's God of War style. You can't get over most bushes or like small obstructions unless they glow.
There's like glowing chains everywhere. And at first I was like, are these interactable? But no, it's showing you that there's a path you are permitted to cross this barrier and go collect some coins or something that might be, or some in-game lore that might be hiding around the corner. But it is linear and then some. So I think the phrase you used earlier, like, click, turn your brain off and just mash a variety of vampire-y type creatures. They've got big hulking bosses. They've got takedown moves. You can You can stop an enemy when it flashes in mid-combo by giving it a swift kick to the chest. And you unlock and level up as you go. So I think you unlock, as you're going through the kind of tutorial level at the beginning, you'll start off with just your weird cyber fist. I don't know. I don't know where we're going to go with that. Yeah, and you'll just punch weird slug-looking creatures to death. And then it will give you a pistol, which you can feather. You don't really aim it. You just...
the pistol is full on just whatever's closest to you, pretty much. Whatever you're, gently aimed at.
Yeah, and then as the game progresses, it gives you more, like you unlock a really nice snappy, as you say. You snap to it. Rifle, I think, would probably be
repeating
the best
carbine, and then there's also a double-barrel shotgun, I think. Those are the main ones. A lot of it comes down to your power gauntlet and the moves you can do with it. Either yoinking people to you zipping to people through. It's very magical looking and feeling. Like lots of electricity, lots of Nikola Tesla was in Marvel, I guess. Like just lots of supernatural stuff. Obviously, it's a freaking game about vampires and the undead and all that type of stuff. So it makes sense, but it is very technologically advanced,
and pretty. It's definitely and it is quite pretty at times. Like the lighting on PC, if you want to go check out my screenshot, I shared it on Twitter earlier on, but it is surprisingly pretty.
It was a bit fuzzy on console at launch. I do think they fixed it up a little bit performance-wise. So eminently playable with a performance mode and whatnot. But I would normally say if you've got a good PC, no reason not to do it there, but it is A-okay on console.
So that's Evil West. It's not going to win awards as the best video game ever made, but it does scratch an itch for something that is going to hold your hand all the way through. The only comment I would make is for an older gentleman with some aging reflexes like myself that's not an elite cool gamer like you.
Aren't I older than you?
It can be quite challenging. Unless you're really into your arena thingies.
No, I remember it was quite, especially some of the bosses and their healing mechanics and stuff. It can be a lot.
But there is a story mode, which is a little bit more forgiving if one feels so inclined. So it's available right now on Xbox Game Pass across PC and console.
Though not Play Anywhere, I don't think. It has a bespoke Windows version, so you can't bring your progress between the two. That tends to happen.
It even says Windows in the title.
Yeah, that's how you always know. So either you can, if it says Windows on the game version, or if it only lists PC on the store, that's how you know not Play Anywhere. Because they stopped bothering with the Play. I think Play Anywhere had a bunch of set things you had to do. And they were like, oh, as long as you got cross-save, cross-play, cross-buy, it's fine. You don't have to have the whole Play Anywhere motif, which has to be set up ahead of time. But Focus wants sales on PC if they can as well, I'd imagine. So they don't normally go the Play Anywhere route. It would be nice if they could get everyone to do it, but unfortunately, not all companies are into the Play Anywhere stuff.
No, and it's a shame. So pick a device and stick with it for your saves to stay where they need to. But yeah, go check out Evil West. Like I said, it's not the best game in the world. It's just effectively a double A release.
Yeah, it's a little repetitive at times, but what you're repeating is just kind of good, dumb fun. It is a Nick game. You can just ignore every cutscene. Fine.
The story is ridiculous. I have not been paying a huge amount of attention, but the gameplay is certainly keeping me entertained. So have at it, folks.
Have at it. You heard it here first. Have at it with your big old fist. Straight up a vampire's
cyber fist.
Yeah. Well, thank you, John. We'll talk to you again real soon, as in probably
I'm sure we will.
Another segment or 3 in this show. See you again.
Hello, folks. We're back again. Sick Mechanico hosting here with, as always, my good friend and colleague, Jesse. Hey, buddy. We're going to talk about a game that was on Game Pass, then left Game Pass, and has returned with a vengeance.
In a bigger, better form.
I know, with a moniker attached to it of the Ultimate Edition of Control. Remedy's previous game before Alan Wake 2. Now, I have played and completed Control. I enjoyed it thoroughly for what it was. But I think you've actually played through this a shocking 3 times.
Yeah, I played through it originally. Then I've gone through it on stream, and I've started up twice more on stream. Like, it's when it first came to Game Pass, I was streaming a bunch on the channel, and then it came back to Game Pass, and so I streamed a little more on the channel. And yeah, I am, and it's one of the few games out there that has a main character named Jessie, spelled the same way, even though it is a lady. Fair. Jesse, no I. But yes,
first.
I originally played this when it ran horribly on an Xbox One, and then got it on, or One X, I think I had at that point, and it was still the best experience outside of an expensive PC.
Yeah.
But for all of us lucky folks now who have either Series S or Series X, runs great. The Ultimate Edition takes good advantage of it, and with my very powerful PC, playing it on maxed out everything, including ray tracing and all that, and using the AMD fluid motion frames and getting like 160 FPS at 4K. Game feels really holds up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have, so for those that perhaps are listening and are maybe on the fence about even trying Control, we're going to try and persuade you as to why you should. But the wider setup, especially if you're an Alan Wake fan, is this is all kind of connected to the Remedy-verse, right?
Mm-hmm. This is like their foray into more the Red Room side of Twin Peaks, whereas Alan Wake was more the Twin Peaks side of Twin Peaks, because they like Twin Peaks at Remedy, that is for sure. I mean, who doesn't? It's great. But Control is all contained within one enormous, ever-changing building, the Federal Bureau of Control. You're Jesse Faden, who has some weird little sci-fi monster in her head that gives her powers and protects her and whatnot. You learn more as you play. It's right at the beginning.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Yeah. So you go in there, something happens, you end up becoming the new director of the Bureau because you pick up a gun. That's all it takes. Pick up the gun.
The gun.
Control is all about these objects of power. And there's like...
the gun is one, isn't it?
Yeah, the gun is like one of the main objects of power. And it can change. It can be a regular pistol, a shotgun, a really bad assault rifle repeater type, a more snipery one. It's a lot of fun. It feels really good to play. The overall setup is be weird, have an okay main story, and have a bunch of really good side quests. It's all best just learned by yourself. Just know it is odd. It really leans into being weird and kind of teaching you this building's rules, essentially, and everything that goes on inside it. You're trying to cleanse the Hiss, who are this weird creature that
stuff
gets inside people's heads and makes them float and get all mad and evil. But your little crazy thing inside your head keeps you okay. You get it's their
Remedy.
It's their best group of powers, flying around, throwing items, all these different things.
The way the physics stuff reacts to it as well, the destruction. And it's weird as well. Like, it's very brutalist in its architecture and design, so very stark edges and hard lines. And weirdly, thinking back on it, it reminds me a lot of the Apple TV show Severance, if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I've seen parts of it.
In the weirdness of things. Control really does have that kind of vibe. But the Ultimate Edition, and I believe it, keep me honest here, it contains some additional DLC that didn't
including
launch with the original title.
AWE, Alan Wake Experience, which was a little tie-in.
Dun.
So if you're on original Xbox, you get Control. If you're on Series X, S, or PC, you get the Ultimate Edition, because that's where the only places that came out, because it was published by 505 Games. Remedy has since bought back the IP rights and publishing rights and everything from them. There is a sequel coming, so it's definitely worth checking out. There's not only a sequel, there's also like a 4-player multiplayer PvE thing they're working on. I think that one's called codename Condor. I might be wrong. Remedy's working on a lot.
Yeah, they do have a full slate, that is for sure.
Yeah. This one's a full-on action game. There's not really puzzles or anything. It's just action, action, action with very light puzzles tied to your abilities. The movement feels good. It looks great. Plays really well. The main issue I have with it on any of the higher difficulties or even normal is the damage spikes that you will get, where just out of nowhere, your health just drops to almost nothing or you're just dead. Occasionally, it doesn't happen a lot. When it does happen, it can be very annoying. There's like this light leveling system for because you'll level up all your powers, you'll level up your gun. There's a mod system for the gun that's kind of but as you get that, if you see someone that's got like a number 5 above their head and you're only good against up to level 3, they will just wreck you.
Tank you,
yeah. They'll take you down quick. So
there is some good news here for folks. Again, you know, in this era of getting as many people to enjoy it, you know, especially if you're more into it for the weirdness and the story and the exploration of this bizarre, ever-changing building. If you've been on the fence for Control and maybe it's just not your kind of game, but you really do kind of are intrigued by the story, it has an absolutely crazy host of accessibility options, one of which is God mode, meaning you cannot die.
Full on Nick
you
mode.
can just sit there and just stand there and take all the bullets and just have fun with all the powers, which is probably how Nick played it.
Yeah, while skipping every cutscene and having no idea what's going on and saying, this is great. And they're like, Jesus Christ, man.
He is a force onto himself. So if you are sitting on the fence, you're listening to this thinking, I wanted to try Control, but it didn't look like it was for me, but I do kind of want to know about the story. Or it didn't run great
when you were on Xbox One. And
this is your opportunity to go back in and experience the game, because I would say I've played a number of single player games over the last couple of years. Control is one that's up there for me in terms of its general feel. Like, you're absolutely right. The way it plays and the way the powers all blend together. Like, I think back to Quantum Break, like that was an Xbox One title. I really liked it for what it was, but I also thought the powers kind of sucked and the way it felt to control kind of just wasn't the best.
Well, Quantum Break had the problem with really bad input lag on older consoles. It feels a lot better now, and I think Quantum Break has a better flow from move to move, but the actual power of the moves and control is cooler and feels a little better. You feel like, picking items up, throwing them, flying around eventually. You feel incredible in Control, and the air, like, while the main story isn't as good, the setting is their best, probably. Like,
it's dripping with vibe. That's probably the best way to say it. So if you're into Alan Wake and you really enjoyed those games, but you kind of were on the fence on Control, go step back in. Download the Ultimate Edition right now on Xbox Series S and X and PC, or the Standard Edition on the original Xbox, if that's where you're at.
Yeah.
Might be time to consider an upgrade, guys. It's been 4 years. But thank you, Jesse, for that run through of Control. We'll be back with another segment, probably featuring 2 handsome devils. Who knows?
Where would they be from?
Not here.
Okay. We'll see you then. Why, hello, everyone. I am once again joined by Gyoza, FairyEmpire. How are you doing, sir?
It's me. Hey, it's been a while, actually. So, happy to be here again.
It is very nice to have you. I'm having you on today to talk about Lego 2K Drive, which just got announced for Game Pass, coming on the 3rd of April, which will have already passed by the time I get this up. And funnily enough, this is the March show. We've just been so busy, despite it being the dead time of year, that I fell behind a lot. But this is a game we both played, we both enjoyed. We both had some issues with its overall package, but please break down Lego 2K Drive for me as it joins Xbox Game Pass.
Okay, so let's rewind a little bit. It was around May, I think, last year. 2K basically started making these Lego games. We're basically expecting to see more of them. Maybe a sequel down the line. We'll see how that goes. But basically, the guys who make the various sports games like NBA, WWE, stuff like that, they made this. We can call it like Lego Forza Horizon. I know we already have Lego DLCs for Forza Horizon, but that is a fitting way to explain.
It's that open world, go find a thing to do. Funnily enough, this is one, you bring it up, that I believe Nick leaked, like he is wont to do. He also leaked that you have a soccer game coming, Lego 2K Goal, I think was the name. But it was it's got that Forza Horizon goofy vibe, but I actually think I like the vibe of this game a lot more than the typical kind of douchey Horizon game. It's very goofy, but it's supposed to be. But I continue.
Yeah, well, it's Lego style, of course. So,
Yeah.
so it's got all the voices you expect from Lego, the likes of Will Arnett, you know. It's got that style from the Lego movie and the other animated shows they have. It's very, very Lego. And they basically have this very cool mechanic that kind of reminds me of Sonic All-Stars thingy, Transformed. What's the full name? I never remember.
Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed.
Exactly, that one.
The best car game ever made.
Your vehicle transforms whenever you want, or whenever, you know, the terrain changes. Like you're on off-road, it becomes a Jeep. You're on asphalt, it becomes a sports car. You touch water and becomes a motorboat. You start flying and it becomes a plane. So, you know, there's a lot of things that you can do. It's very dynamic. It has a very arcade physics. You know, it's Lego, so it's not going to be a set of course or stuff like that. But it is very fun, actually, because the tracks are also full of destructible things. You can destroy the opponents. They drop Lego blocks and stuff. The same goes to you. You know, you crash into someone, you see all these Lego pieces, Lego bricks fly everywhere. It is very stylish, very fun.
It's pretty. It is a nice-looking game. Solid frame rate, very colorful. I don't remember if it had HDR or not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did. And it performs and looks very well. We tested it last year on Series X. And
because I remember the HDR being really... I remember it being unbelievably colorful because I had just gotten an OLED. And I was like, oh, this is a nice showcase of this color gamut.
Yeah, it's very shiny. Maybe, you know, some a bit like the Forza Horizon DLCs with the Legos. Some might be disappointed a bit that, you know, not everything is Lego. You have this somewhat generic, you know, desert areas, forests and everything. And on top of that, there's thousands of Lego pieces. So there's... that's cool, but of course, it maybe could have been 100% Lego, but at least you see from the start what is destructible, what is it the things that you can interact with, and what is it you can't. So that's at least a decent distinction. So
it would have been. I always feel like it would have been very visually noisy if everything is Lego. Because then everything has to show those bumps and everything's falling apart. I think it worked really well where pretty much everything on top of the landscape is a Lego. For the most, there's a few things here and there that aren't just straight up Lego. But yeah, overall, I think it's a very pretty game that runs as well as it should because it's nothing incredible looking. It's just nice.
Yeah, but actually, it has a very robust lighting system. So, you know, half the game is plastic Lego blocks, and everything reflects the light just as you expect it to. So it is actually very pleasing visually. And, you know, it has a day-night cycle. So, you know, there comes the night. You see all these shiny Lego blocks. There's some areas like this horror-themed area with the swamps, spiders everywhere and stuff, you know, spooky lights. Ghosts and everything that light up, so it can get very, very interesting. There's these alien artifacts and such that light up at night, so it can be very pretty. And
it's weird. It doesn't feel massive budget wise. It just feels like it was very competently made. Like it doesn't feel huge like a Forza game can feel. Like you can just see the money on the track. This one feels like they knew what they wanted to go for, and they scoped for that appropriately. Yeah,
but there's still dozens of hours of content if you want 100% everything. And perhaps most interestingly, there's a vehicle editor, because it's a very robust one, because you can unlock hundreds of different Lego pieces, or you can buy, you know, pre-made sets of cars and vehicles and stuff. But you can build pretty much anything, you know, with the blocks you have. You can have as many wheels, engines you want. You can go absolutely crazy. It doesn't impact the physics too much. Like, obviously, the speed and the handling, it changes a little bit. But, you know, you can experiment without necessarily making a car that doesn't work, right? So, you know, it's always a game. It always lets you win if you, or at least gives you a chance, right? It's good at that. So... and yeah, there's it's actually a very fun game. We had a great time last year with the review.
Yep. I would call it a very good get because it is expensive. It does have one thing we can get into is it does have pretty egregious microtransactions.
Yeah, it does.
So, but it is definitely the type of thing you can just get it, you can play it, you can grind it if you want, or you can just go through the campaign, have a fun time, do some multiplayer stuff if you feel like it, and it is a... I think anyone who's into the arcade racing, especially if you like the Lego stuff and you like building, there's going to be more, but I'm not that big into building, and I still had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. It's basically got that Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts feel that you can, build your own vehicles and solve different things. But you mentioned the microtransactions. That's probably the worst part of the game.
Yeah.
It's kind of optional because everything in the game, all the tracks, all the campaign events, all the secrets, you can do everything without spending a single cent. However, it's a full price game, so it launched at like $70, so 80 euros or whatever your region has. And it also has pretty egregious microtransactions.
And a lot of them. There's so much.
Yeah. There's tons of cars, blocks, characters, everything you can buy. And the issue is the game does have, you can collect coins, right, in the game. You're doing challenges and doing all the open world activities. But the thing is, you can play like 12 hours, 24 hours, or spend like $5 and get the same credits. So it's a bit unbalanced there because, either you can grind the hell out of the game and just throw like $10 and buy whatever you need. So that's probably not ideal, especially for a game that's, also aims at kids. So yeah, but I don't think it's too big of a problem because everything in the game can be completed without that. You can, just ignore the store. You definitely should ignore the store, probably.
Yeah. Yes. It's not too hard, too. I know, like, sometimes it can feel a little... if you're not great at driving games and stuff, it can feel a little daunting. But I never found any of the events in this to be particularly hard. They're not always easy, but I think on the whole, it's pretty well balanced where you can get through everything.
Yeah, it is. There are difficulty settings, but at the same time, I remember in the review last year, there were a couple difficulty spikes, a couple races that were a lot more difficult than others.
Yeah.
The thing is that the driving, it's very arcade, but at the same time, the tracks are quite busy visually. There's a lot of tight turns. You're constantly bashing other cars. You have the vehicle that keeps transforming back and right. You can do these aerial dashes and all kinds of stuff. So it is arcade. It is kind of easy to understand, but at the same time, there's a lot of button presses involved, right? While driving, you have to correct your line a lot. Be aware. There's even power-ups in the race. We haven't even mentioned that. Mario Kart style. So you got rockets and stuff like that. So it can get a little bit demanding, but I think even if you wanna make your kid play this one, it is doable. It can be challenging, but I think it's a fair challenge for the most part.
And a lot of times it's challenging once you've kind of committed, like you're into it, you downloaded it, you gave it a chance on Game Pass, you're into it, and then it starts to get a little hard, and by then you know what you're in for. So I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's hard to get through. I didn't get through too much. I streamed it a fair bit on our channel. I would have definitely played a lot more, but last year it just never stopped for reviews. So yeah. This is definitely one worthy of adding to the backlog, depending on, because knowing 2K, it should be there at least 6 months to a year. Their bigger things are like 3 months, or sometimes the NBA is just up till the next season. So you got a little bit of time.
Yeah. Don't take this as a leak, because I know nothing, but I do expect a sequel down the line, maybe a year or two. Probably that seems reasonable. So maybe if it stays a year and then they announce a sequel, that might be, realistic. But yeah, do play this one. It's a lot of fun if you enjoy arcade racers, if you enjoy Lego, if you enjoy colorful games, if you enjoy stuff like Mario Kart with the power-ups and the messy races, party races. So this one's for you, I guess.
It felt a lot like Sonic and All-Stars Racing transformed in the actual racing, with the converting, the power sliding system for boosting and stuff. I was a big fan of just playing it. It's kind of like Marvel's Midnight Suns, where 2K has had a lot of games where they really nail the gameplay. And thankfully, this one, I think, is better than average for them on everything else around it. Like the story, the characters. It is solid.
Yeah, very. And again, if they manage to improve the couple weak points they have in the sequel, this is going to be one hell of a banger series, hopefully.
All right. Well, thank you, FairyEmpire. I will definitely be talking with you more as more and more just keeps it in Game Pass. It is nearly impossible to keep up with. In April alone, there's 5 day one launches. I think we're covering all of them.
That's going to be busy. And
then
going to be all kinds of surprises as well, for sure. So
you like this? This was out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But all right. Thank you so much, and we will talk to you again soon.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye. Why, hello, and welcome back. We are here to talk about one of the worst games of 2023, one that destroyed a publisher and a studio and their parent company, unable to recover at all. Only made, $18 billion in the last quarter? Terrible.
Something like that.
We, of course, are talking about the game that is nowhere near as bad as everyone likes to say, Redfall, which John and I have been playing recently on Headlines. I was in the middle of the pack on positive reviews, but still got a lot of death threats and anger from people for enjoying Redfall.
People are gross.
Yeah. It is a up to 4-player co-op game where you fight humans and vampires in a Massachusetts town that has been besieged by the first 4 vampires in existence ever, and you figure out how they came to be, why, and you use a bunch of guns and abilities to take them all out. I played 50 hours of the game in so they gave us Redfall roughly 3 days before launch. It might have been 2 days before embargo, and I put in 35 hours before embargo doing my review, played another 20, 30 hours after that week, streaming the game. Really enjoyed it. I know it had problems, especially with a lot of bugs as far as enemy AI not always activating correctly, because it was an always online game, because originally it was going to be this big thing. But I liked it then. My wife liked it then. And I like it now. John, you've been playing with me. What do you think about Redfall?
It's funny. I played it with you for a little bit during your review period, and I was like, "This is unique and cool," and I loved the art style. Now, I had I think a fair complaint, and I think you kind of, it's a known thing with Arcane games, is that on pad the shooting just didn't feel perfect.
They don't get aim acceleration right, where it can either take too long to start or go too fast once it does start. So you just don't feel that fine aim.
But it's had a number of patches since then. It's had the frequency and difficulty of the vampires, I think, increased.
Way up, yeah.
It's a lot more challenging. It's a lot more involved. And we've been playing through it as part of our new XboxEra Hangouts show, which, if you haven't watched it and you're listening to the Day One Game Pass show right now, you can go check it out. It is it's not a podcast, it's a YouTube live stream, but we've come up with a cool way of having both my viewpoint and Jesse's viewpoint on screen at the same time using an application called Parsec. And it's great because we can filter between the two and mix it up and have some fun in co-op whilst playing together with you guys and the community. But it's only improved. It was never a 3 or a 4 out of 10 game, right? I think anyone that objectively came in and said that were knocking Arcane for daring to make something that wasn't an immersive sim. But regardless of that, there are immersive sim droplets throughout the environments. And the one thing that absolutely screams true for me is the shooting now feels excellent. The weapon variety and picking up a new gun and seeing what new perks and new abilities it has versus what you had before is always good. And the art style is absolutely brilliant. Like the environments themselves, especially when you start getting into the weirder stuff, it's just so imaginative. And it shocks me a little bit that people were so willing to just jump on the hate bandwagon and
they're
give
still
Microsoft
there.
a good kicking for it.
Like it is the game they'll always point to and make fun of as like just this truly horrendous, awful thing, and ignore they probably never played it, or they haven't played it since launch, and it was like buggy for them or whatnot. One of the main things for Redfall with me is how good the story is. Like so the first area is fine. The main boss of the first area's story is horrifying in a good way. It's like my God, this guy is such a piece of shit. What he put his daughter through. But then the second area is one of my like favorite areas in a video game. Like going through it, all the stories in there, the gameplay setups they have, and the actual story of the game are just so freaking good. Yeah. Because I remember telling you, I was like, I'm around a 7, but I hadn't got to the second map yet. And then I get to the second map yet, I'm like, holy shit, this just skyrocketed for me. It's like an 8 now. And then I beat it, and I was like, holy shit, I can't wait to see more of this. And then I'm talking to Rand, and he's like, wow, everyone's saying it's truly horrible. I'm like, what? What game are they playing?
Yeah.
I was like, at that point, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to get never-ending shit from people because I'm enjoying it. But I am an open-world looter-shooter fan. Like, it is a genre I am way into. So...
Yeah, and it has to be said as well, I think the majority of other people played on their own. Like, you specifically played through the majority of your review period with the missus, you know, and actually... engaged in that co-op shooting mechanic and fun where you get multiple characters using their different powers, and that's also worth mentioning, right? Is you're not just playing as 4 standard people with guns. Each of you has unique abilities that can kind of, especially when you're in a big team, can group together to be able to take out stuff and do more damage.
Get to new places, heal each other. Yeah, there's very good group synergy. There's still supposed to be 2 more characters coming. We don't know when. I think they're taking their time. They talked before. I know Pete Hines talked before. Like, they want to give this game a full redemption arc because they've done that. They did it with Fallout 76, which launched in a far worse state with far less actual fun stuff to do. And now it's considered to be a really good game by the fans that actually play it, like Fallout 76. I still see people, especially bigger names in the media who maybe don't keep up as much, just remember the launch of Fallout 76.
Yeah, just disastrous.
It's like, well, no,
that's
actually,
all they ever
you go
refer
to it now.
the
Fallout
game
76 is legitimately fantastic. Like, every time I play it, I'm like, oh, yeah, I actually kind of love this game. It's really good. It would be a great one if I wasn't so busy with other stuff all the time to find a group of friends to play with type of game. But yeah, it is... The basic premise is you're trying to clear these vampire gods out of two different towns around Massachusetts. It's very open world map checklist. Like, you're going in, you're opening up safe houses, getting a couple quests there, get all the safe house quests done. You get some cool stuff in each area type of deal. You've got a string of missions you can do. You can go and search and find stuff on your own. There are these... It might not be feasible for most to find 100 of the Gravelocks in their playthroughs to get the whole backstory. So it is very much worth either looking it up in a text like article or a video that breaks it all down, because it's actually the backstory and the actual like quest stories in this game are awesome. Like, I really love them. And it was one of the main things that carried me, along with the very fun gameplay, the really good looks. I know the game had an issue with Unreal Engine 4 where it wouldn't always load certain textures that were on top of other textures. So, like, if there was an image at the fire station or billboards, they could take, like, up to a minute to load sometimes. Yeah. But when everything loaded, it was really pretty. But people would just point at look at that, it didn't load a texture thing, and say the game's ugly. It's like, no, the game's really, really nice looking and very fun to play.
That's all resolved now, though, those texture loading issues, right?
Yeah, and it looks very good on PC. It looks even
it looks great.
It has a performance mode now on console, which is like magic, because it's one of the first times I can remember FSR 2 not looking like FSR. There's not shimmering. It doesn't look upscaled. I remember when that patch hit that day, I took a look on stream to see, and people were like, "You're playing PC, right?" And like, no, this is console. Look, I'll bring up the Xbox menu. Like, this is just really clean. In a way that FSR games tend to not be. They tend to have ghosting and shimmering at times, but It's an excellent implementation of it and a pretty rock solid 60. So yeah, Redfall is a whipping boy. It's a redheaded stepchild. It's every bad thing you can think of from people, but the actual game itself I still really like, and I stand by everything I said.
Yeah, I can empathize and understand, 7s and stuff like that. Like
even a 5.
I would say,
if you just if you didn't find the game story and stuff great and it had all those issues, I could see even a 5 if you use the full scale. It's just we know most of those sites don't use the full scale, and a 7 for a AAA game is very bad. And to give a 3 or a 4, it means that
7 is effectively average for when those big sites get
and for a AAA game, average is death.
Yeah, and I understand it, and I think, if I put my objective hat on and I say to myself, does Redfall do anything crazy new that blows the genre wide open? The answer is probably no, but it does. I think more than many open world games, especially shooters, the story, the story of the world hiding behind the reticule of your crosshair, like all of the little details that are packed in across all of the buildings, through all of the towns, all of these little hints as to what's happened and who lived there and life, is second to none. And it really does show a deep love for building worlds that Arcane is so capable of. And that was true and ever present at launch, and it's even now that it's had the patches and it performs better and it feels better to play. Honestly, if you're on the fence, it's 100% worth diving in. 100%.
I had a lot of fun with it solo, but it is better with a group. Like every co-op game
are better with friends.
Yeah. So if you have a friend or 2 or 3 who want to play it, absolutely. But even then, solo, I really enjoyed it, so I would still recommend it.
Yeah. There you go, folks. Redfall, 8.5 out of 10. You should probably give it a go. Find 3 buddies, go shoot some vamps, play through it once and have a good time. Because it's available right now on your Xbox Game Pass subscription across PC and console and cloud. Mm-hmm. Isn't life wonderful?
It is.
But there you go. Yeah. Thanks, Jesse, for bringing me back to the game. And I look forward to our continued playthrough.
You keep being like, I want to play more.
I do want to play more.
Yeah,
I do want to play more.
A lot of fun, and we're still in the first area. But that'll wrap up another Day One Game Pass show for March 2024. Sorry that it's late. It's been very busy. We'll have another one at the very end of April because we've got some games coming. You're doing Harold Halibut. Cengiz is doing Ayuden Chronicles 100 Heroes, and I want to get both of those in, so I have to wait until the end of the month because that's when Ayuden is out. But thank you so much, John.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
And we will see all of you next time here on the Day One Game Pass show. Ciao for now.
Bye.